in the OMI. That's the memoir we're going to be discussing today with author Sara DiVello. And she's here today with me, Suzette Martinez Standring, on It's All Right with Suzette. And welcome to the show.
Thank you so much.
Oh, it's so great to talk to you. Now, your book is a memoir of your journey from corporate, cutthroat, fast-paced America
Yes.
to the world of yoga.
Yes.
And in it are all the lessons and insights of making a career change and a very interesting and compelling view into the cutthroat and cattiness involved in both realms.
Yes.
So I want to hear all about it.
Yeah, so, I was 31 years old. I was working as the head of PR for a $750 billion financial services company, and I was totally miserable. I was unfulfilled. I wasn't interested in the work that I was doing. And I also happened to work under what I can only describe as a stupendously bad parade of female bosses. And I realized I have to get out. I need to make a change. And if not now, then when? And if not me, then who? And so eventually I started doing my yoga teacher training on nights and weekends. And then I gathered the courage and I quit my job and I segued into teaching yoga. And then I wrote a book about it to help others find their path and step into their most fulfilling lives.
Now, how long was this book in the making? And it's first person.
Yes.
And you take a comical kind of vain, engaging way of bringing in the readers?
Yes.
And who was your specific audience? I know it's for people with a career change, but who were you specifically writing to?
I'm writing to people who feel trapped in their jobs, who feel trapped in their cubicles or their offices or in a career that they didn't choose with any sort of deliberation or intent. It just, they found themselves in this for one reason or another. So for me, I never intended to end up in financial services. I never intended to end up in PR. But I found myself there because I worked my way through college. I was the first one in my family to go to college, finish college, graduated with all the student loan debt. And then I found myself with bills to pay, the student loans and eventually car payments and mortgages and all of these sort of real world responsibilities that weigh a lot of us down. And so Mama needed a job to pay those back. And financial services happened to be the industry that was hiring in Boston at that time. And so without a lot of, sitting down and thinking about it, I just took a job and then I blinked and 10 years had gone by. And a lot of people, that happens to a lot of people.
Yes.
Alternatively, you can choose a career that you think you're gonna love. I have a friend who went to medical school and she's a radiologist and now she's like, do I actually want to be a doctor? And maybe she'd rather be an artist or something else. And so she's exploring her career options. So I think a lot of us find ourselves, either we think we're gonna love it and we don't, or we just stumble in it and for one reason or another find ourselves there. And then, this is your life. And eventually something will bring you to the point where you have to ask yourself, am I doing this because I love it, because I find it fulfilling, I'm passionate about it, I'm excited about it, I feel I'm using my unique talents and gifts to serve the world in that highest way, or am I just doing this because it's familiar, because it's easy?
You're right. And I think that it takes a lot of courage to ask oneself those questions. And it seems that from leaving a six-figure salary job to the unknown and entering the unknown terrain of the yoga field and doing so well by writing this book, you've really been delivered safely to the other side in many ways. Shape magazine called your book one of the 10 best reads to bring to the beach. I know that your book has received a National Indies Excellence Award.
Yes.
And Working Mother named it a must-read for people who are making a career change.
Yeah.
I was reading through your resume and your bio and everything, and I see that you've appeared on CBS and you've written about this on almost every major magazine. Yeah. So good for you. It seems like that whole being present mindset and really believing in your own vision has taken you to a really great place. So how long was this book in the making?
This book, so I left financial services. I quit my job in 2008, and it took me 4 years to finish the book. It took me a year to write my first draft, and then it took me 3 more years to polish it, work with my critique partners. I worked with 2 partners, one in my genre, one not in my genre, because I wanted both fresh eyes with no preconceived notions of what a memoir would be, and I wanted someone who read a lot of memoirs and who wrote in the genre as well, so that she would have those more experienced eyes. I worked with a man and a woman. I wanted every single, sort of different viewpoint that I could get, and working with both of them as well as my professional editor took another 3 years to get baby in fighting form. And so
baby in fighting form, I love it. I love it. And we're very fortunate to have a book trailer to Where the Om Am I? I love that title.
Thank you.
So let's take a look at your book trailer right now.
All right, guys, let's step up to the plate and whiteboard it. The pipeline's looking good. Performance is up. All wins, guys. All wins. Now, here's where the rubber meets the road. We need to strategize, synergize, get our ducks in a row. Let's really grab them by the balls. Bring them to their knees. Show them who their daddy is. What were you thinking?
I was thinking I should tell the truth.
My department doesn't want to hear the truth. They want to be pumped up by good news. And if there's no good news, spin the news we have, goddammit.
Eating. Again.
You like some?
No. Maybe. I can't believe all you're eating. So gluttonous.
You cover my calls. Need to do a little lunchtime shopping. Gotta upgrade the pantalones. There's a reason they call me the meat.
Welcome to yoga teacher training. As future yoga teachers, we need to explore how our negative patterns impact our yoga.
Hi, I'm Gloria. Hi. I'm thinking of taking a yoga name like Prana or Shakti.
I knew there was a reason why I stopped here.
Really? Right here next to me?
Oh,
Have you showered yet today?
No,
No? Even this week?
no,
No?
I don't believe in that. White people really do smell like milk.
well, that is great. You must be so proud of what you've accomplished.
Thank you.
So, you talk about working with difficult women,
Yeah.
and it's almost politically incorrect to
Yes.
admit that.
Yes.
But since yoga puts us in a mind space of speaking the truth with love,
Yes.
why don't you tell us about that?
So that was really important to me. And having come up in that post-feminist era where I was very lucky to fully believe that I could do anything, that I could be anything, that the sky was the limit. There might be a glass ceiling, but I could probably bust through it. That sort of liberated thinking. I was very lucky to come up, after that. Whereas
Yes.
women who had come before me had to fight really hard to get there, and I wanted to honor their work. And I think obviously we wouldn't be there if they hadn't done that. So the women who came after that, though, I came in and I was kind of like, I can do anything. And so I worked in what is still a very male-dominated industry, finance is. And so the few women that were there usually will end up in marketing and PR, because that's sort of the one niche where women take leadership roles. There are women who work in finance, like a lot. Most of the admins, most of the administrative assistants are women. They'll be like, a portfolio manager, especially when I was there, which again was years ago. But there'll be, a portfolio manager or, some women, a saleswoman in a position, sort of
Right.
at that more executive level. But mostly it's men. And so I came in and I was kind of like, oh, perfect. There's a woman in power. She'll be a mentor. We'll be friends. We'll go out for tea. She'll coach me. And it was more like, the reality was she was more like, I hope you die. Let me stomp on you with the sharp point of my stiletto and grind it into, your back, and then step over your dead body so that I can get myself to the next level. And I was very shocked and confused as to why there was this cutthroat competitive undertone.
Wow.
And I felt like that needed to be addressed, because there's this sort of vibe that everything is rosy, everything is fine, done, and if it's not, don't acknowledge it. Just keep smiling and nodding and smiling and nodding. And my thought is, that's not going to move us forward. That's not going to deal with what we need to deal with.
Yes.
And we have got to drag these issues out into the light, take a good hard look at them, and talk about them. Talk
Yes.
about why this is happening. Talk about what the issues are, because ignoring it is not going to make it go away. And it was really important to me to address it, even though I feared that I might take some flack for that, for talking out of school. And some people have reacted that way. But my response is, if we never acknowledge what's wrong, it's never going to get better. And I really want to keep talking about it.
And so did it, the openness, the frankness, being candid, did it help?
Well, and I think we're still evolving.
Yes.
I think this is still growing and changing. I think more women are
But
coming
in your
into the industry.
situation, in that corporate situation.
Oh, so I felt like I wanted to talk about it in the book.
I see.
So I wanted to
I
address
see,
it
yes.
sort of globally, as this was my experience. It wasn't always positive, but I have to share it in order to bring that, into the light and create that openness and that conversation. That was something that I dealt with openly in the corporate world.
Yes.
But one person saying, "Hey, I don't think this other woman is treating me fairly," isn't going to move the needle as much as talking about it in a book that's going to reach many more people instead of just
That's
that one
great.
HR person.
That's great. That's great. We have to take a break right now, but in a moment we will return to hear more about Where in the Om Am I with Sara DiVello. So thank you, and stay tuned. We'll be right back about her process in writing this book. Sara DiVello is here with us, the author of Where in the Om Am I? And having taken your journey from cutthroat corporate America to yoga, the world of yoga, you mentioned that you thought that it would appeal to many women in your age bracket, 20s
Yes.
and 30s.
Yep.
But you said that there was a much larger demographic that has surprised you, that has reacted and responded to your book. Can you talk about that?
Absolutely. And so exactly as you said, I thought it was going to appeal most to those probably women who were looking to figure out what to dedicate their career to. What were they going to spend their life doing? And I do get those women both, and the way that I can tell is both in reviews, in people sending me emails to my website or posting on my Facebook page or whatever. And also now that since the book has come out, now I travel around the country teaching workshops called Where in the Om Am I? A workshop for seekers to find their path and live their dharma, their most fulfilling life. And so the women I also see who attends those workshops. And what's really interesting is I do have those women in their 20s and 30s who are still finding their path, who are trying to navigate that. But what's been amazing is I have almost an equal representation of women who are a little bit further down their road, who have raised their kids, who have done the stay-at-home mom thing, or who have done the high-powered career thing, and who now are asking themselves, okay, I've done that, I've checked the box, what now? What next? And of course, I'm a writer, as are you, and so I think of it as, what's the next chapter going to hold? What's the next chapter going to hold for them? And what's been really amazing is to see them resonate so deeply with the message of the book and to be attracted to those workshops and to come in with such open heart and such interest. It's been really amazing.
You've had a phenomenal response to your book, both in major media, magazines, and I think a very essential component of that draw is your sense of humor. And I really feel that you have a very deep lesson in your book. At the same time, you deliver it with a lot of laughs. Can you talk about how that's part of your writing, who you are? How did you incorporate all of that into kind of a serious subject?
And thank you. That's such an important part of what my goal was in writing this. So I think that my strategy was twofold. First of all, I just love a great story. I love to hear great stories. I love to tell great stories. I love to laugh until my belly hurts. I love to make other people laugh until their bellies hurt. Like, I just love the craft of storytelling, of animated, awesome, hilarious storytelling. And so that was what I wanted to deliver. The second part of that is when you're talking about weightier subjects, when you're talking about heavier, darker, more intense subjects like female bullying at work, like backstabbing, like women not supporting women, like the darker side of how women treat each other at the office, in the yoga world. You know, the thing is life is hard out there. There's a lot of heavy stuff going on in the world right now. I mean, you only have to turn on the news to see that.
Oh boy.
And right? And so I didn't want to weigh people down. They don't have the bandwidth to be preached to be lectured to be like, oh, I know life's really hard. Here's something else that's hard for you. You know, nobody has the bandwidth for that. But if you can tell that story and make them laugh while they're doing it, that is something that is a very powerful way to make people step back and think. So I think, you know, people who do that really well are comedians like Amy Schumer.
Oh yes,
She's
of my
brilliant.
favorites. Brilliant.
She's brilliant, but what's amazing about her is she's making you laugh hysterically, but she's also delivering a really important cultural awakening message that you're like, wait, is it actually cool that this is how our culture is, this is how our society is? And so it was my goal to sort of deliver that same sort of message in a hilarious way that made people laugh, but also stop and think. That was my goal.
Now, I think that you have honed in on the essential beauty of yoga in that it keeps you centered and it puts you in a place of clarity and compassion. And at the same time, you've written your book against a backdrop of kind of some dark, very funnily handled events, you know. So talk, you know, like for instance, the female bullying that goes on in the corporate workplace and all of that. But you know, you also touch on something that you don't see in a lot of books, and that is the dark side of the yoga industry. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, exactly. So, you know, I was working in this male-dominated industry, and so, which again, didn't bother me. I was totally fine being the only woman in a room of 90 guys. Didn't bother me at all, but it was a lot of testosterone. So, you know, all of the talk around the water cooler was about chicks and cars and carousing and the Red Sox and the Patriots, you know, and every other sports team that had played, you know, that season or whatever season we were in. And so I noticed that in yoga it was predominantly women. And when I walked into my teacher training, I was like, wow, there is not one single male in this entire room. So I would work Monday through Friday with mostly men, and then I go to my teacher training Friday through Sunday night, and it was all women. And so I was like, oh, fabulous. I just want to get in on this. You know, we're going to sit around, we're going to chant, we're going to share, we're going to talk about our feelings, whatever. And I'm going to be part of this incredible sisterhood. But what I was surprised to find was that there existed the same backstabbing and bitchery, if I can say that.
You said it.
Okay, it's done. That existed in the corporate world, in the yoga world. And that was equally shocking because in the corporate world, I had come to expect it. I was braced for it. You know, I had my armor on, I had my hair, my makeup, my suit. I was braced. I was ready to defend myself against it. Over the years, I had to. But I wasn't prepared for that in yoga because I thought it was yoga.
Right. Right. You know, it's interesting because for many, many years I was involved in the holistic field myself, and you find that people are going to be people, and I always, one of my disappointments was that in this field where we're all supposed to be so one and present, so much ego went on that you can only do it my way. It has to be done this way. I invented this, and yet the wisest king in history, King Solomon, said, nothing is new under the sun. But, you know, I love that your book addresses all this and that it in many ways takes away the disappointment.
Yes.
Right? It takes away the disappointment and it helps people stay on track with the essential beauty of what a very present, relaxed mindset can do. And obviously you've done so much.
That's a really beautiful and succinct way of saying it. I love what you just said, and I totally agree, because that's exactly what I found, is that the practice itself had been so incredibly transformative for me in my life.
Yes.
And it still is. It is still that tool I go to. You know, I started doing yoga in the opening scene of the book. You know, my boyfriend at the time shows up the day before our anniversary, and he says, I couldn't wait. I have to talk to you. And he reaches in his pocket and he pulls out, and I think it's going to be a ring, and it's my key. And he says, I don't think we should be together anymore. And I was totally devastated, totally brokenhearted. And I started, and then a few months later, I found myself similarly discarded by my employer. And I always say dating's a lot like working, right? You start off on your best behavior, you get dressed up. A few months later, you start wearing your less best outfits. Maybe you wash your hair every other day, you know? You get relaxed. And so it should have been no surprise to me that I then found myself similarly discarded by my employer at the time when I got laid off and the company got acquired by a much larger company. So in that space of being totally devastated, heartbroken, alone, single, and now unemployed, I started doing yoga. And yoga, from that first class, something deep within me clicked. And I knew I was home in some way. And I felt total peace, total presence, total mental silence, which is rare these days. And that practice is something that has sustained me and nourished me and elevated me and supported me and comforted me through all of the hard times in my life, and it still is. And the practice can be exactly that. It's the politics, which, as you said, from when ego gets involved, from some leaders in the space, that's when things get tricky. But the practice itself, I stand by, is incredibly transformative.
Now, it's wonderful to know that you offer these types of workshops nationally.
Yes,
you help people find that place where they might be able to realize and reach their full potential.
Yes.
So can you talk a little bit about what's involved? If someone wanted to sign up for a workshop with you, is it actual yoga exercise? Is it writing? Is it, kind of exercises of the mind? What is it exactly that you offer?
So that's a great question. And so I teach these at yoga festivals. I teach them at literary conferences like Grub Street's Muse in the Marketplace, the second largest literary conference in the country, held in our very own Boston. And I've taken your class there, which was amazing.
Thank you.
I teach at women's conferences, retreats all over the world. And so the workshops that I teach, I tailor for each specific place that I'm teaching, but I'm actually going to start offering them online as well. And people will be surprised that there's actually no yoga as you might think of it. There's no poses. You don't have to be wearing your stretchy pants. I mean, realistically, I'm wearing my stretchy pants anyway, because at this point, it's all yoga pants. But we're doing stuff which is what I'm really interested in, which is yoga off the mat. I have a very basic practice. I don't do arm balances. I don't do headstands. I have kind of a boring, humble practice because, again, I'm not in it to get super bendy or to execute some sort of Cirque du Soleil pose. I'm interested to make my body super comfortable, and then from that place of comfort to be able to quiet my mind, tune into the present moment, and ask myself those really deep questions. Who am I? What am I doing with this one magnificent life that I have to live? What are my unique talents and gifts? And how can I use them to serve in the highest way? How can I use them to serve others? How can I use them to make a career for myself and to use that career to serve others in a positive way? And those are the questions that we ask. And the tools that we use aren't yoga poses. They're breath techniques, which is part of yoga, but people don't think of that as the first thing they think of when they hear the word yoga. It's breath work. It's writing exercises. It's meditation. It's affirmations. It's writing to cues. It's all sorts of things that we do.
Beautiful.
But you can do them
like that.
Sitting in a
we
chair.
We got to get you here to Milton to do something.
I would love that.
That sounds fantastic. So people don't necessarily need to bring a mat.
No.
It's really about experiencing the centeredness and what kind of personal magic can come out of that.
Exactly.
Now, how do we find out about your calendar and what you're up to and how to get in touch with you?
So everything is on my website, saradivello.com. I'm also on all the social medias, so Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, I'm everywhere, and it's all at Sara DiVello. And I'd love to, I'm passionate about this stuff. I love talking about this stuff. I love connecting with other seekers, as I call them, people who are asking themselves these questions. So yeah, find me, connect with me, let's chat, let's talk. And I'd love to see people in a workshop or just have a conversation.
I'm definitely going to take one of your workshops. It sounds so fantastic, Sara.
Yay.
We are very fortunate to have you here today.
Thank you so much.
And in the 1 or 2 minutes that we have left,
Yeah.
what's up next for you?
So right now, I am teaching these workshops around the country. I just finished teaching at the Nantucket Yoga Festival, the Cape Cod Yoga Festival. Next, I'm teaching at the Well Summit in New York City. Fabulous event. It's all about wellness, living your best life, eating well, what you put on your body, what you put in your body, you know, asking yourself these questions, everything to live that most fulfilling life. I'm teaching at the Ahimsa Yoga Festival in Woodstock, New York. In November, I'm speaking at the Women's Global Leadership Summit, also in November here in Boston. I'm all over the place. So I'm doing events like that. I'm also teaching at some private events. And when I'm not doing that, I am working on that next book, which I'm currently editing right now in the editing phase.
I was wondering about a next book.
Yes, so I'm slogging through, and I'm doing something totally different. I am actually segueing into the murder mystery thriller genre.
Woo!
So so I'm really excited about that.
Fantastic.
Thank you.
Oh, Sara,
Thank you
it was
so
such
much.
a pleasure to have you on the show today.
Oh, Suzette, thank you so much for having me. It's so incredible to see you again and to connect with you in this way. And thank you for all your wonderful questions. I'm thrilled to be here.
You know, folks, she mentioned that she took my writing class at Grub Street a long time ago.
I
and,
did.
And, well, not so long ago. And I remember I inscribed a book to her and saying, I'm expecting to see your byline. And poof! Wow, now you're on every major publication and you're teaching all over, and it's been a very highly regarded book by Shape Magazine and Working Mother and, you know, Huffington Post and all these places. I'm so happy for you, Sara.
Oh, thank you, Suzette.
So well
Thank you.
deserved.
And I absolutely loved your class. I love what you do. I think you're incredible, and I'm so thrilled to be back here with you today.
Mutual Admiration Society. We're going to sign off now on It's All Right with Suzette. Thank you so much, Sara DiVello, for sharing your book, Where in the Om Am I? And look for her on her website and on her Facebook pages on all forms of social media. And we'll see you again next time.
Thank you so much.
Happy writing.
Thank you.